Also, I think there might be a few people that aren't on mute, so we don't get as much feedback. Could everybody just check to make sure that they're on mute? Okay, well, I will go ahead and kick it off. So thank you all so much for taking the time to come out to this call this morning or this afternoon, depending on time zone. This is the new All Things Teams in Government call. Going forward, this will be a 30-minute call that's going to be monthly. And in the calendar invite, you could see our upcoming topics, but we would love to have this be very much a collaborative call. So if you have any sort of ideas or things that you guys would like to hear about, we will attach a survey link in the chat. It is also located in that calendar invite that we sent as well. So a little bit of background, the reason why we started this call is we wanted to ensure that our government customers were getting the attention that they deserve. So again, going forward, all topics will be government specific. So with that, we'll go ahead and move into introductions.
All right, thanks, Bridget. So as Bridget said, my name is Darby O'Brien, and I'm a customer success manager for Microsoft. And what that means is that we're just here to help with the adoption of tools like Teams and to help show the real value that it can add to your everyday work life. I'm a Swarm CSM, which means I have accounts all across the US, but I am based out of Reston, Virginia.
And my name is Bridget Ballard. I'm also a customer success manager. I am pinned to the Pacific Northwest accounts, and my home office is in Bellevue, Washington.
All right. So today, Bridget and I just want to be able to spend a little time telling you about how Microsoft has been recently rethinking collaboration and the approach that Microsoft has had that's been very impactful. And the new tool that we've been using to see this impact is Microsoft Teams. And from a high level, I would go ahead and describe Teams as the hub for teamwork. Teams is the fastest growing business app in Microsoft history with 500,000 organizations using it now. So I'm sure that currently in your day-to-day role, you spend a lot of time working in teams for all different sorts of reasons, be it a group of people working on the same project as you, or people in the same role as you, or even working with other organizations. There's a lot of information about different projects that can flood your inbox with email threads and meeting dates, and Microsoft Teams does an amazing job at managing that workload for you in a much more concise and organized way. The way that organizations work has evolved, so there's several trends that we're seeing regarding teamwork. And bottom line, both work styles and the workforce are changing. For the first time now, there are 5 generations in the workplace, and with that comes different backgrounds and different expectations on how to collaborate. Bottom line, for a team to be at their best, each member needs to feel involved and have access to information easily and be able to participate in the process. So what we want to avoid is each user downloading different tools to work, because ultimately it's just going to cause friction in that process.
So before we jump into the demo, I would like to go over a lot of questions that we get about our teamwork tools within the Microsoft 365 platform. I want to start with Teams. So think of Teams as your inner loop. This is going to be people that you work with on a daily basis to complete your work. Now moving into Outlook, this is your email platform, and this is going to be more towards targeted communications. So think email blasts that go out to the entire organization. And now moving into SharePoint sites, this is your outer loop. So this is going to be people that you connect with across the organization. So think of this as your intranet. This is going to be where you store resources for people all throughout the organization to reference. And now moving into the center of the circle, we look at OneDrive and SharePoint. Now OneDrive is your personal content collaboration site, which also pulls into these 3 Teamwork and Microsoft 365 applications. When we jump into the demo, you'll be able to see how you can drop a file from your OneDrive right into your Teams channel. And then think of SharePoint as group content collaboration, and Teams, every Teams channel in the backend is a SharePoint site as well. Now moving into our video service, which is Stream. So for instance, this recording will go directly to our Stream site, and we will be able to share that with everyone on the call, but we can also share it within our Teams as well. But right before we jump into the demo, I'd just like to go over our 4 main capabilities within Microsoft Teams. The first being persistent one-on-one and group chat. The second being powerful online meetings. The third being enterprise calling and voice. And lastly, and personally my favorite, the built-in Office 365 apps. You will get to see how we get to integrate all of those within our Teams channels and how we can reference those on the daily. So with that, let's jump into the demo, Darby.
Awesome. Let me switch my screens here. Great. Bridget, just let me know when you can see my screen.
Yep, I can see it.
Awesome. All right, so here is a look into the Teams platform. Let me give Bridget some control here. Ooh. There you are. So there is a lot to see here, and I'm going to start by just going through this toolbar on the left, and we're going to go ahead and show you some of the high-level functions and features of Teams. For the sake of time, we won't be able to go into every detail today, but that's exactly what this call is for. So if there is something you are dying to see or learn about and you don't see it on our upcoming schedule and we don't cover it today, please leave your idea in the survey link that we're going to drop in the chat after this meeting, and we'll be sure to cover it for you. So that being said, our first stop on the toolbar is this activity feed here. And this is going to be a feed of your notification. So anytime someone specifically mentions you in a message, or anytime someone specifically mentions a team or a channel that you're in, or anytime someone reacts to one of your messages, you're going to see it show up here. It's a great way to stay organized and kind of catch up on any work that you may have missed. But also realize, as you can imagine, this probably will fill up pretty quickly for you. So realize that you do have the ability to to filter these notifications here. And you can filter it by your mentions, by unread messages. You could even type to filter to find a specific message. So it will kind of filter those messages for you to stay organized. And you can also mark a message as unread if you want to revisit it at a separate date and you still want it to show up in your notifications. And with that, let's move into chat.
Awesome. So as you can see, I'm in the chat conversation with Deborah, and I can see right there from her little icon that she's in a meeting. So I will go ahead and just stick with the chats that we have here, and I won't try and chat her right now. So as you can see, this is a living document space. We can, in one of the other sessions, we'll chat a little bit more about chat retention. But something that I love and is personally the most helpful for me, you see this audit report that Deborah put in here. So let's say 2 months from now, we have a ton of chats and we don't want to scroll all the way back in to find that. That document lives right here in files. So any document that Deborah puts in there will go into that files portion right there. And I'd like to move up here into this chat functionality. So since we're sharing our screen right now, we can't do the video chat, but at any point in time, you can simply click the video chat or the calling to be able to reach Deborah. And this usually happens when you're in the chat and let's say you're having a long conversation and it's easier to just pick up the phone and call them right here. So I'm going to jump over to my chat with Deborah and Nestor to show you this super cool functionality. So next to these 2 icons that we just covered, there's an Add Participants button. So when I go to add them, let's say I wanted to add Jordan. So something that it gives me the option to do is to not include the chat history, or I can set what number of days I want to include the chat history from. So I'm going to add him, and I'm going to say don't include chat history because I just want to start a totally new conversation with him. And now we have a new conversation with them, and Jordan will not be able to see the previous chat history over here. All right, so right before we jump over into the Teams part, I just want to cover a few more things. So right here, when you click on these ellipses, there's a couple of options for you. The one that I like to use the most is the pin. So when I pin this, everything that I pin will show up at the top of my chat panel. This is extremely helpful, especially for the people that you chat on a daily basis, so you don't have to scroll through your chat history because it can get a bit overwhelming sometimes. Ooh. Sorry. All right, and then I'm going to jump back over into Deborah's. So again, you can add to your favorite contacts, you can mute, you can hide, and if I wanted to notify when she was available, I could simply hit that, and when she comes back on green, it'll tell me that she's back online. And then similar to the activity, you have the function to filter your chats as well. Anything else you have to add, Darby?
I think that covers it.
Awesome. Let's jump into Teams.
Awesome. So here is Teams, and this is kind of the bread and butter of the collaboration of this platform. So the very first thing that I want to point out to you here is the difference between a team and a channel. So a team is a group of people in your organization that are getting together to get something big done. And channels are going to be those subcategories to help organize your conversation. So that way not everything is threaded in one spot. So for example, here we are in the 2018 safety audit team, and here are the channels given to me underneath that team. So in this 2018 audit planning channel, we will only discuss audit planning, and in delivery, we'll only discuss delivery, and so on. I also want to point out that every team is given a general channel, and that is a channel with everybody involved. So if you did want to blast a message out to every channel or wish everyone a happy holidays, you could do that as well here. So that being said, let's take a look into some of the functionality. And you're going to notice there's a lot of similar features to chat here, but the difference is the reach that these messages will have. So you can get the attention and the advice and the input of your entire team in this section. So no more lengthy email threads, it can all be done here. So you have a lot of customization on how your message is viewed. So if you want to send a quick informal message, you can do that here. You can also formalize your message by clicking this little A here in the corner. So if you did want to create a message that looked a little bit more formal and caught everybody's attention, you've got the opportunity to add a subject line. So let's add one. Type your message here. You've got this thread up here if you would like to customize your message even more, and you have the ability to mark it as important so everyone will get a notification and see your message. Let's send it. All right. You also have the ability to attach files to your messages. You have the functionality to pull from your computer, your OneDrive, or other teams and channels. You also have some capabilities down here. These next three are things like emojis, GIFs, and stickers. And these kind of humanize a message. So if you wanted to send out a message with just a funny picture or sticker, you absolutely can. But do know that if you do not want those features in your organization, that is something you can also turn off. And then this last little button down here is the Meet Now button. So if you were having a conversation with your team and you felt it was a better conversation to be had in a meeting, you can click the Meet Now button and everyone will get a notification that someone is meeting in your channel, and everyone can hop in and chat that way instead. I also want to point out the ability to @mention in Teams. So you can @mention specific people. So say I need Deborah's attention. I have the ability to @mention her. And when I do, she's going to receive a notification in this activity feed up here. Or say I don't just need Deborah's attention. I actually need everyone's attention. Oops. I can go ahead and call out the entire team or the channel, and then that way everyone will get a notification to let them know that there's something important to take a look at in here. The next thing that I want to point out, and this is my favorite feature, is these tabs up here at the top. So say that you and your team work on on the same document every single week. You're always updating it, or you're working on a project together and you're sending around that PowerPoint presentation to get it done and get things added in. You can go ahead and add it as a tab up here so everyone can quickly access it at the same time. And that is going to completely get rid of that concept of everyone emailing versions back and forth to each other. It will always be in here, and the most updated version will be here. So to add a tab, you just click this Add a Tab button, and you'll have some options on where you want to pull that file from. But let's look at some of the tabs that are already in here. So it looks like we have a project scope tab, and this is a Word document. So we could view this document right in this tab, or we can go ahead and begin to edit this document. So say you needed everyone's input on the document, I can edit right in Teams. And as you can see here, it looks like Deborah's also in this document, and I can see her edits, and we can edit at the exact same time and collaborate together, which is great to be able to see other people's past edits as well as who's in the document. And it's just great that you don't even need to leave Teams to get to this functionality. This is all still right in Teams. Also, I want to point out that, say, Deborah added a lot of things to this file, and I thought, you know, actually I wanted it the version before that. There is a way to go right into your SharePoint site and find version history to get back to the older version if you didn't want the updates. And you can do this with Excel, Word, PowerPoint, again, and you can access all these files right at the top, and even websites. And then that way everyone in your team has eyes on the same things, and you guys know that you're all talking about the same documents. Similar to chat, how Bridget discussed, you have all these same features here. You can hide a team, add channels to the team. And, then you can refine those teams if you need to get back access to them. Teams will bold when there's new information, and they'll let you know if there's things that need your attention, which is great, just to keep you updated. And with that, we'll move into calendar.
Awesome. Thanks, Darby. Okay, so as you can see, this is the calendar functionality. This does sync up with Outlook calendar. So everything that you see in Outlook, you will be able to see in here. So there's actually one going on right now. When this happens, you'll see the little join icon. So I'm going to go ahead and join this meeting, and we'll be able to see the meeting capabilities. So I'm going to put myself on mute, and I'm going to join. Awesome. So again, I am the only one here because this is a demo environment. So down here is your control panel. You can turn your camera on, you can on or off, you can mute yourself or turn your microphone back on. Then you can also share your desktop. You can do this yourself, or you can give permission to have other people within the team share their desktop as well. Right here in the More Actions button, the top one is the one that I most frequently use, especially when messing around with my headset. This is going to be your show device settings, and you'll be able to set where your microphone is coming from, as well as a few other settings. The other most helpful one that I find most useful is the Start Recording button, which is what we're doing right now. Again, when you hit this, this will send the recording over to Microsoft Stream, and you will be able to reference that video and disseminate it among your teams as you see fit. Right here is your show conversation. So in here, as you can see, Deborah has already posted something in the meeting chat, but let's say we're talking about a certain website. So instead of everyone asking where the website is and what the URL is, frequently we'll just drop it in the chat so that everybody can reference it. Something that's awesome about this functionality is the meeting chat does not go away. So back over in the chat icon that we were discussing before, you will always be able to find the notes from this meeting. And then the last functionality I'd like to point out is the show participants. So everyone that's currently in the meeting will show up, everyone that's invited, and then it'll also give you a few suggestions of people that you may have forgotten to invite to the meeting as well. So with that, I will hang up and we'll head back to the calendar. Okay. So the last thing I'd like to point out within the calendar is simply this new meeting. So instead of creating all my meetings in Outlook, I also have the opportunity to create them in here. Looks similar, but if you fill this out, you select the channel you want to meet in, or you can simply just invite certain people that you want to invite. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a channel. Do you have anything else to add with the calendar, Darby? Are we good to move on to files?
I think the only thing that we could discuss is maybe this availability up here in the top right corner. And so how the way Bridget was just moving through those meetings, you kind of saw how Johanna's status would change throughout the meetings. But also know that you can set those yourself. So if you do have a crazy day and you don't need notifications in your inbox, you can set yourself to do not disturb, etc. I just wanted to point out that you do have that ability, as well as the presence is built in.
Yeah, great addition. Okay, so moving over into files. All these files right here are going to be ones that I personally have edited or opened. It's not necessarily ones that I've uploaded myself, but it's just ones that I've touched in the past few days. This is just a one-stop shop where you can go to quickly reference a file that you may need to just get to quickly, rather than going into chat or to Teams to find that file as well. Anything else to add here?
I don't think so.
Awesome. Well, that concludes our demo. With that, again, we would love to thank you guys again for coming out to this call. We are going to open up the channel to Q&A, so feel free to come off mute and ask us anything. We will also be monitoring the chat as well if you do not feel comfortable coming off mute.
I am going to throw the survey in the chat link as well. So please, if you have any ideas or questions or feedback, we would absolutely love to hear it. All right, it should be in there now.
All right, do we have?
It looks like we have one question in the chat right now. We have, would a team or channel be a good substitution for a SharePoint team site? So let me hop back over into the demo. So Bridget touched on this just a little bit, but every time a team is created, a SharePoint site is created on the back end. So I think the question that you're asking is those are already combined, and yes, you can go ahead and use your teams as the team SharePoint site. So I'm going to take a look. This is the team, and I'm going to look into the Files tab. This is the SharePoint, and I can actually open this in SharePoint. It's really just in disguise there. So yes, you can go ahead and use your teams and channels to store those files, and it's going to be saved in a shared SharePoint for everyone to take a look at. Does that answer your question?
Awesome. Okay, let's see. So then we have another question that says, can this replace, other collaboration tools? The answer to that is yes. So with Teams, this is the hub for collaboration. As you've seen throughout the demo, not only do you have the capabilities to call and do meetings, but the biggest selling point for this is the ability to do file share within here as well. So you are able to collaborate with everyone within your team without leaving. And I know for Darby and I, that cuts down on our time spent looking for documents, scrolling through our email, and it just makes our day so much easier. Do you have anything to add to that, Darby?
No, yeah, I think that covers it. So the next question we see is, what if we need to archive a conversation? So yes, you can do that in Outlook. Let me open up the demo here again. But you can also save messages in Teams as well if you want to refer back to them. So let's say I loved this message that Johanna sent. I have the functionality to go to this ellipses here and bookmark that message. And to find it, you're going to go to your profile up in the right corner and hit saved messages. And then you're going to have access to any of the messages that you previously saved. So it's great for if you see something and you think, oh, I'm definitely going to need that in a couple weeks. I should save it now so I don't have to look for it. Just start saving messages that way. Hopefully that answers your question.
I see a question about inviting people outside of the organization. Yes, you can. So we're actually going to run a session on governance in a few months. So basically within the permission settings, you can admit certain people from outside of the organization to come and join your team. Again, that is totally controlled by you, and you can limit the amount of people that you have doing that as well.
Yep. So I think that kind of answers two questions in the chat. Yes, you can invite people from outside of your organization. It's just all decided in governance. So you kind of you get to pick and choose how you would like members of your organization to use the platform. And if you would like outside collaboration, you can absolutely allow for guest users. And then you just will invite those vendors by email right into your team with you.
Also, a question about conversation history and pulling that for public records request. And the answer is yes. It depends upon your retention policy.
Let's see what else we have. So I see a question about how could organizations use an org-wide team? In terms of building structure, it is very different per organization. If you would, let me see. We would love to reach back out to you and take that offline. Maybe, you know, we could set up a call and we could talk about more about your organization and what your needs are and set up a specific team structure around that. Let's see. The governance one is currently scheduled for March. Correct me if I'm wrong, Darby.
Let me double check the schedule. I'll take a quick look.
Okay.
I see a question in the chat about the roadmap. I'm not sure if Bridget or Glenn could help there.
Which question is that?
Let's see. In the roadmap, is there a fix coming to address the disconnect between team?
Oh, yeah, the product group is working on that. I don't have a time frame on it. But
okay.
Yes. I'll see if I can grab time.
So I also see a question in terms of the phase out of Skype for Business. So Skype for Business, it will still be online. And then Glenn, correct me if I'm wrong, but currently it's until 2021.
Right, June of 2021.
Awesome.
And yes, March is the correct month for the governance session.
Mm-hmm.
Hear that.
But if anybody specifically has questions for the anything regarding governance, we can also post a few links for that in the chat, so you guys don't have to wait that long. It's awesome that you guys are eager to get some of that information already.
Yeah. Hey, Darby and Bridget, this is Ken. I do see there's a question about governance that someone was curious when that scheduled for. I guess I would just say to that individual, if they have some questions they'd like answered before March, please, shoot an email to either Bridget or Darby, and we'll be more than happy to try to get those questions answered for you sooner than later.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, well, I would love to be mindful of everybody's time, so I'm going to go ahead and drop our emails in the chat as well. This was recorded, so we will go ahead and share this out as well. But thank you, everybody, so much for joining, and we are super happy to get this kicked off, and we'll see you again next month.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
you.